In 1997, NATO and Russia signed the Founding Act, which clearly stated that neither side saw the other as an adversary. So why the friction in relations between the two over 15 years later?
From the perspective of people who currently hold power in Moscow, they are convinced that the greatest threat to them is the spread of Western norms and values and the liberal democratic system into what they see as their own domain, which they still define as the former Soviet Union.
Russian government, people and military establishment are deeply convicted that in the late 80s and beginning 90s, there were solemn guarantees made by the US and the major NATO countries not to expand NATO further east. Russians feel that NATO is cheating on them.
But what is the crux of the problem today for NATO-Russia relations? And what can recent events in Ukraine tell us about them?
What bothers them really is NATO enlargement. And a large part of what bothers them about NATO enlargement is that if you have NATO, more NATO in countries like Ukraine, you have with it more of a NATO model about how your defenses and security system are organized, how the state works with all of this, and they don't want to see that. That's what they're really afraid of. As long as we stay in our own space, I don't think they really see us posing a threat to them.
But Russia is not rejecting collaboration. Indeed, since 2002, there's been the NATO-Russia Council, which specifically deals in collaboration on threats which both sides face.
We have to think about how to protect ourselves against new threats and challenges. And this is exactly one of the key part of our security agenda. I can tell you that I think that security agenda, which is under consideration of NATO-Russia Council, has these elements. First of all, this is our screening ability to look at security challenges on emerging threats and to try to understand what could be done jointly in dealing with that.
Russia is a multinational state which is threatened by extremism. It's threatened by the growing sophistication of globally organized terrorist movements, and the work that NATO and Russia can do in this area is obviously very important.
And the list of areas where cooperation exists is already long. Just recently, NATO and Russia unveiled the Standex project, which aims to prevent terrorist opportunities to use explosives against commuters in mass transit systems.
We are also cooperating quite well with both Ocean Shield operation conducted by NATO, but also Atalanta operation by the European Union. On Afghanistan, I think that we have sound cooperation in many areas, and I think that in terms of transit, Russia is playing a crucial role for international community, for ISAF countries, but we do also a lot of things in training both anti-drug officers for Afghanistan, Pakistan, Central Asia, and we are also working on very specific projects designed to improve security on transport and in other areas where we are very vulnerable to individual terrorists, and so-called Standex project is a very promising one, and we are working on it. So to make a long story short, I think that looking at this list of common threats and challenges, our cooperation is developing quite well.
And apart from results, these projects are important in fostering trust.
The Standex the issue, Cooperative Airspace Initiative, they work quite well because in these issues there are two elements which are important. First is that there is a balance of benefits on both sides. Secondly, they are not kind of a politicized issues. These are more technical issues which are very much helpful in concrete ways to address real challenges.
Trust between the two sides remains the key issue, and it could be argued that a lack of it at present is what appears to be holding back the relationship from achieving more.
Of all NATO's partner relations, none holds greater potential than that between NATO and Russia. But today, that potential is not being fully met.
The basic problem behind, I think, is very simple, which is the lack of trust. I'm saying the lack of trust on both sides.